Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. A subdued version of the intro, if only because, well, it's morning time here. It is another day in the lap of luxury, as we like to say. Thanks to our friends at Above and Beyond. Man, they have treated us like kings, Tom Lang and myself. You see them on the screen there. We really, really appreciate it. I don't think I can really summarize how beautiful it's been down here. A little overcast this morning as we broadcast to you. By the way, Above and Beyond Vacation Rentals, Florida State, family owned and operated, as one of our viewers / listeners said yesterday, Tom. Seems like Florida State is largely undefeated since Above and Beyond came on, right? How great is that? Avoid the VRBO and Airbnb middleman fees, kids. Work directly with Noles and enjoy that service and comfort in coastal Pinellas County. Over 30 properties, 30-plus properties, as I said. And they really have something for everybody. Cottages, quaint beach motels, and luxury upscale condos like the ones we're in here. If you want to learn more, I'll tell you more later. AboveandBeyondVR.com. This is the week, though. It's promo code JCS for 15% off. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. They're booked solid for March, but everything else is open. So get after it. One of these properties certainly meets your needs, and you can save 15% if you use that code JCS to book. Onward with the program, and as I do, I'll say I'm still basking in the glow of the news this week. I've got more thoughts on it. I think we're all having more and more thoughts on this as we kind of digest what has taken place this week, which is ultimately a huge win for Florida State. Now, there was a loss last night in basketball. There was a win in baseball. I will continue to watch very closely the exploits of one Miles Bailey. We talked after the weekend series, Tom, that he was looking like a young man. The way I described it is a young man that's getting very comfortable very early in his FSU career. To be a freshman, to have the weight of those expectations coming here, knowing what the program is traditionally in its backyard where he played at Lincoln. And, you know, he's a kid who comes in. Obviously, he's larger than life, 6'5", 257. He's a big man. So with that comes the expectations that you're going to hit for a lot of power. And through the first, 9 games or so, he was okay. Didn't hit for a lot of power, but was starting to get more comfortable. His at-bats got better in each game. You began to see him learn from mistakes where he was over-anxious. You'd have a 3-pitch at-bat. You'd go, ooh. Next at-bat, 6-7 pitch at-bat, looked more comfortable. Then he started driving the ball the other way. He was hitting doubles in the alley. Started to see that. Really hard hit singles. He had the game winner, the 4-3 win over Georgetown, back up the box, ripped it. You start to see that's very comfortable. Taking a pitch from whence it came, right? It's not trying to pull everything. And just the presence in the box seems to be that of a man who is stalking a pitch.
Yeah.
And that's when golly, back in the day watching a Barry Bonds at bat, you're like, well, this is actually intimidating to watch a man stand there fearless. Now, it's easy to be fearless when you have the armor that he had on, but he was also a giant, and he knew the strike zone. And basically he thought, I can recognize the pitch. You can't locate 3 times, and I'm going to wait until you miss by a quarter of an inch, and this ball is going to go 480 feet. And when you watch those at-bats, that's breathtaking. Now, I'm not comparing Miles Bailey to the greatest really power hitter of our era. But I am saying that Miles Bailey gets more and more comfortable at this level with this caliber of pitcher. So what he's going to see next will be better than that. There will be another adjustment. But until that comes, my man is going to feast until we face better competition. And again, last night with 2 more bombs, one of them 437 feet, but they're both Oppo bombs. He is now 8 for 14 with 7 RBIs, 4 runs, 3 home runs, and 2 doubles in his last 4 games. He's on a tear.
Yeah, he's looking comfortable. It's like the Jimbo clip. I can do this. There is that moment for everybody as they climb the ranks. It could be high school and freshman season in football. We're looking for Chroma to give us that
good
feedback.
Reference. That, you know what? But good job on your part. I don't remember the last time we had to reach back to that Jimbo reference. I can do this, where it was so perfectly fitting. You're right. That the moment the light bulb goes off, Tommy, where the guy goes, oh, no, this isn't better than me. I'm better than this.
Right.
Yeah, you got to do better, guys.
I think, part of this is something I often complain about, but part of the celebration this weekend when he hits his home run, and he jumps 5 feet into the air to celebrate near the first base dugout. To me, that is the moment of, okay, I have arrived. And the thing that I like about watching him, beyond the power, that swing reminds me of one of my favorite ball players of all time. And it's going to be obscure for new people into the game of baseball, younger people who are listening to the show. But you're going to know this name. Carlos Delgado.
Yeah, good swing.
There is a lot of Carlos Delgado in that swing. It's a little bit longer, but it's that same angle of attack. It's that same kind of sawed-off follow-through, kind of a flick of a follow-through. I see a lot of Delgado in that swing. And, buddy, I see a lot of Delgado in that exit velocity and a lot of Delgado in the distance that these home runs are being hit as well.
Well, the other day when Max Williams hit a home run, and he's got to get moving, and I think obviously we'll see that happen as weather warms up and all of that. There was a shot from behind home plate. I love that we are able to see so many angles now of these home runs for Florida State. But I wanted to bring it up on the air. It is the flattest swing. It is so beautiful to see how he can get on top of the baseball. There's no up, there's no lift, there's not. It is straight through on top of the ball. It is short. It's just violent and short, and it's flat. And that ball, that just takes off. And that's why when Max hits a home run, it's usually a no-doubter.
Right.
When he hits it and he gets on top of the ball and he's strong and you see it, you're like, well, there's Miles is going to have one of these swings that we have no doubt about. When you have that kind of opposite field power.
Yeah, and he didn't get that first one. The second home run he got. The first one, that's the scary thing. Is well, I mean, he got most of it. He didn't get all of it, and it's long gone.
Yeah, that's strength, man. That's strength, power, short to the ball.
In watching, and I'd have to take a look at their relative sizes. Delgado was not a small man, but it just there's something about the way the bat looks in their hands too. It looks like a conductor's wand. It doesn't look like a baseball bat. There are some dudes that when they stand in the box, you go, well, that bat's larger than him. Altuve being a good example. Then there's some dudes that, man, that's a toothpick in his hands, and that's there's something special happening if he continues down this path at some similar clip in ACC play. If you're seeing we get into the Boston College series and the Miami series and into ACC play against teams like Virginia or Louisville or Wake Forest, and he's still hitting 305, but with 2 home runs in a weekend, man, that bodes very, very well because you needed some younger players to make that leap, to take this lineup to a place that complements the pitching to where you can get nervous in May and go, well, this team could do it.
Yeah, right. All the young guys. Well, you're still seeing it with BJ Upton. Listen to me. I'm thinking of the Rays from back in the day. Gibson and guys like that. You're getting players that I don't know that we thought would be moving this quickly towards a more refined, complete player in this league. Like you're starting to see guys that look like, oh, well, they may get there early in their careers.
Yeah, if Gibson does, and Bailey was, of the players he was expected to, but maybe Carnes gets involved in there. You already have Lodis Farreau. I love them. Williams. I mean, shoot, West is hitting the ball hard, seemingly every night, every afternoon. So yeah, you could be getting there. And then meanwhile, they're still working through all of their arms. Crest had a good night last night, but then all of those guys out of the bullpen, you got to have dozen legitimate candidates to help you with a lead in a close ball game on a Friday night when you're trying to set the tone. They're building into something here.
They're starting pitchers. You mentioned Evan Crest just now. They're starting pitchers. One of the things that stands out to me, and I guess it goes back to when we were talking to Mike Capozzi because he said it. He talked a lot about the amount of pitches that guys have to get people out with. Like, I always kind of feel like in college anyhow, if you've got 2 pitches you can command for strikes consistently well, you can get by and even be pretty, if they're both plus pitches, you can be really good. It's hard to expect college kids. It's changing, but it's hard to expect college kids to have 3 and 4 pitches that they can command consistently and throw for strikes. Evan Crest is throwing, he goes 6 innings last night on 77 pitches. He only allowed 5 base runners. You're looking at 4 pitches that he threw for strikes, 3 consistently, 1 that he sprinkled in there just as a kind of get me over and keep guys off balance. The changeup is nasty. Look, he's good. I like him. He's a good pitcher. And he makes up a staff now of 4 or 5 guys, frankly, that have a bunch of pitches that they can throw for strikes.
Well, and he's got an eye towards the weekend rotation because it's the natural competitive nature of things. But the way I look at this is, and I always have, even when it was the discussion with 11 or meat, is I'm looking at the amassing of assets for a given weekend where it really matters. A 3-game set that matters, a 4-team tournament like a regional that matters greatly.
Mm-hmm.
If Crest doesn't make it into the weekend rotation and you're going to be your Tuesday guy, well, now on Friday in that shortened setting in game 1, if you need a long man because something goes wrong,
you got it.
You've got it. And, here's another opportunity tonight for some more players because you get a double midweek slate here. They're building up assets for different situations. And I know that Link loves that because he's an extremely situational guy. His lineup is meticulously prepared. His plan for how many pitches guys are going to throw in a given night is discussed days in advance with Micah Posey, but you need to cultivate more and more options because not all lineups are equal that you're going to face. There might be a quirk with some of the lineup, right-handed heavy, left-handed heavy, and so now you have more and more options that appear to be presenting themselves. Now we'll see. You got midweeks with Florida coming up here very soon, so that's a better test.
Mm-hmm.
If maybe Crest gets lit up by Florida the first time, and we have to say, "Whoa, all right, let's pull back." Or an ACC play, you lose 2 out of 3 in a weekend series, and we say, oh, "Okay, let's pull back." But for where they are and the tests that they're facing, they are progressing right on schedule, and in some cases ahead of schedule.
Farrell's been more consistent with the bat. He was feast or famine a year ago. Gibson, I mentioned earlier a moment ago, had 2 more hits, Tom. That's all he does. He gets just a bunch of 2-hit days over and over and over again. Lodis is having a great year. Harrelson at the top is having a great year. There's reason to be excited. 10-1 against UNF is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to go on and on about that. It's just the pieces that we're talking about. We're just highlighting the pieces. Yeah, the score is what it is. Florida State's much better than UNF, but it's the pieces and the variety and the ability now to kind of mix and match in your lineup as well as your rotation and out of your bullpen, which is what you were just referencing. I mean, just that this is going to be a fun ride. They're 12-0 right now, and they're not going to go undefeated. And there's going to be some tough stretches because it's baseball. But they responded nicely to a couple close games against Georgetown. And Link talked about them being beat up, but that they had to get mentally focused and deal with that. It's a long season. Bumps and bruises are going to happen. Sometimes they happen early in the year, and you get past it. Florida State, nice job. Nice job. And we pivot because, and in the end, I'm reminded of the Beatles, right? It's done. The boards have approved the settlements. That's it. That's all. We got it yesterday. It happened. I know Ira was there to document, and you worked behind the scenes as well up here. And we now know that it's all done. Brand revenue distribution, 60% of the TV money divided up based on a 5-year weighted rolling average of university team viewers, if you will, ACC viewers. More weight towards recent years than 5 years ago is how that's going to work. The exit fee, by the way, is amazing. It's $165 million. It is not $200 million to leave tomorrow. It's $165 million to leave tomorrow. And it's also declining every year by $18 million. Now, if you were to stay and stick it out through 2029 and you wanted to leave, you would pay $75 million. And you will leave with media rights secured. So everything that the ACC said they wouldn't do, they did do. They acquiesced to Florida State, Clemson, and really anybody else who feels that way. And as I described before, again, if you're a fan of one of these programs in the ACC, like Boston College, you have no doubt now that you are not as valued in this league as those atop this list. So
literally, you're not.
No, you're not. That's why I use the word valued. You're not. And we know that's reality. Now, I will say, I go back. I'll give him credit for this because he said this, and I tend to agree. Going back to when Scott Van Pelt was on the air when Maryland left the ACC and joined the Big Ten, Van Pelt said, well, great. We're gonna make a bunch of money. We're gonna be in the haves. We're gonna get paid a lot more. That's wonderful. but at what cost? I grew up, as I'm paraphrasing him, I grew up going to these big-time basketball games in the ACC where Duke, North Carolina, Virginia. Wait, no. I get it. But hold on,
well, from Maryland.
Yeah. But the point would be, he was saying, as a fan, I was a fan of the ACC. I love the ACC, just like there are fans of the SEC, the Big East, whatever it might be, Pac-12. This is part of the larger issue here. It's like, I can be very happy, and I am, that Florida State has done what they did to get out of this conference, to receive more money, to give themselves a chance to compete at the highest levels. And Florida State's a football program, first and foremost. But if you're a fan of the ACC because of what it was for all those years in basketball, and if you were a fan of what the Big East was for all those years in basketball, which I get, and if you've seen in the last 10 years, really, the ruination of college athletics as it was known. And that's fine to point out that you lament that. It's fine to point out. So if you are an ACC fan, you hate what's happened. You hate it. There aren't going to be many sympathizers from the FSU camp or the Clemson camp or anybody who seeks to compete at the highest levels in football, because this is something that they had to do. And I can juxtapose those two things. I can say, I get it. There's part of me that feels bad for people who are fans of a certain kind of tradition in a sport or a league or a part of the country, and they're going to miss those rivalries, going to miss those games. I do too. I will too. I have to. I mean, I hate that the Oklahoma Sooners left the Big 12. I hate that that sucks. They don't belong in the SEC.
Oklahoma, Arkansas instead of Oklahoma State.
Right. Yeah. I hate it. I hate that we don't get Nebraska, Oklahoma every year anymore, and that we don't get Nebraska Tech. That sucks. I don't like it. I don't like that the Pac-12 doesn't exist. I hate it. I liked knowing that those rivalries were in place and they existed. It was great. But we didn't cause that, and the sport moved in a different direction.
And so did the money.
And the money moved in another direction. And so Florida State had to do what they had to do. And so you see it's a win, and you can say it's a win, and it is, and you can lament and understand. People are like, well, great, I just watched the conference implode.
Yeah.
I get that. If you're in earnest, if you're capable of having a reasonable discussion about why it happened, instead of just casting blame. If you want to say, well, money ruined the game. Yeah, sure. Money ruins most things. Got it. But that's fine. You can say that, but you can't blame the school.
No. What you can do is enjoy your glass of Chardonnay at Bluegrass night, and, there's your night. And just think about and ponder what once was and what won't be very soon. And my problem with this conference, and the reason why I'm so thoroughly happy top to bottom, is if you look at the history of Florida State's decision to become a member of the ACC and what they turned down to become a member of the ACC, and the aspirations that Florida State had as a member of the ACC was, look, we wanted our academic profile to increase. The SEC wasn't the be-all, end-all at that time.
Not at all, no.
They also were playing hot and cold with us, so we're saying, fine, the hell with you. We're going to be an additive, a humongous additive to this conference.
And your argument is that they were never treated as such.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How
they were
is
always
it that,
cast as outsiders.
And look at the difference between the way that ACC institutionalists speak about Miami versus us. Are you freaking kidding me? How is Miami treated with more grace over the 20 years that it's been a member of the ACC than Florida State has in its 30 years of being a member of the ACC? It's those kinds of things that frustrate me, and that's when I become petty. Well, that's when I say the hell with you, and I'm glad you're on fire.
Well, that's where results, all of that is born out of results.
And not their love of Miami.
No, that is. Allow me to make the case. Miami never hurt them. Miami has been an impotent player in this league. They have never won a conference championship. No Wake Forest fan, Virginia fan, Syracuse fan, Pitt fan, any other fan has ever had to watch Miami hoist an ACC championship and celebrate in their faces. They've never watched a team beat them 20 times in a row like Florida State did when they came into the league.
Right.
When Florida State walked into the league, they torched it. They walked in and went, whoosh, get you some bitches. Right. So it doesn't make it rational, Tom, but it is the direct result of us bashing their faces in repeatedly. Now imagine for a second, and again, I'm not empathizing. This is the way it works. It's the guy who brought his wife to the NC State game.
Right.
The family, get your stuff. It's we're down 38-0 in the second quarter. This is ridiculous.
That's true, but you could argue also in the last 25 years that's only been the case for 6 of them, 7 of them.
Of course, but it's imprinted in their minds.
It would be like the PGA Tour still griping against Tiger Woods because he celebrated too much or because he dominated too much. Instead of saying, thank you for all the money you brought to me, Tiger. You changed this game. You line my pockets.
Players do, but fans don't. They pick sides. Players have come out openly and said, well, I mean, the purses wouldn't be what they are if it wasn't for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, that's fair. But I would say that the other players in this analogy have been dragging their feet to give us our due in terms of recognizing what Florida State has brought to the conference and value. Now, they finally did yesterday. They were forced to.
It's not even they went kicking and screaming.
That's why I don't like this league. That's why because I think in earnest, we tried to make this thing a better league and we tried to be an excellent steward, advance ourselves as a university. And in exchange, we're bringing them relevance in football that they never had before.
You are 100% right about the academic side. I don't know if we cared whether or not we improved the rest of the league and anything else. It was kind of like catch up, a-holes. I mean, This is what we are. Just try to catch up, Now, yeah, it's complicated. It really is. I get some of it. Look, I'm not upset. We did what we had to do, and we won this thing, and it's worked out. By and large, it's worked out for Florida State. Chef Cambridge 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. They're over at the Arnold Palmer. We got an invite from our cohort here at Warchant.
We did.
Mr. Lacerra, thank you so much. I failed to get back to you yesterday. We were too busy being blinded by the beauty of the area here in which we're broadcasting. And then we were watching the Lightning beat Columbus like a drum, and I failed to get back to him. But it would have been nice to take him up on the offer and drive over there and see this event, the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. I'd love to play that course someday. But you guys have asked frequently over the years, can you please, Jeff, sprinkle a little pizza money love our way and let us know who you're going with? Well, I can just tell you that in the one league that I'm in, my picks are Justin Thomas, Tommy Fleetwood, and Keegan Bradley as my three for this weekend. Now, I will do some DraftKings lineups.
And some top 20, top 10, top 5.
And I will do a ton of top 20, top 10, top 5. And I might sprinkle a few dollars on an outright. Usually I don't. It's hard to. I mean, if you're going to – there's no value in betting Scotty Scheffler to win, really.
It feels like a JT week.
Well, good, because I have him. I hope you're right. But, this is a course and an event, and an elevated event at that, where you're looking at – I mean, goodness gracious, are any of us going to be shocked if the top guys, according to Data Golf and really all the other metrics for this tournament, here they are in order. and when I say these names, you're going to go, well, okay. Scheffler, McIlroy, Morikawa, Schauffele, Thomas, Aberor, and Fleetwood. Okay. I mean, the only guys outside that hardcore list of elite players that could win that aren't considered in that realm would be like a Russell Henley, who's just a notch below, or a Shane Lowry, who's really, really good. Taylor Pendrith, Sam Burns, Maverick McNeely, but I don't like those guys this week. Hence my Keegan Bradley pick. It is funny how every week I don't take Sepp Straka, and every week I'm sitting there on a Sunday and I'm like, oh, there's Sepp Straka within 5 of the lead.
Especially on the East Coast. This is where, to get into the weeds briefly, there are some guys who played much better on Poe out west. There are guys that are Bermuda. You see a lot more Noles on Bermuda, and it makes a lot of sense because that's what we play on the East Coast. But then the best of the best win everywhere. That's there's
differentiator.
Right. So Rory could win this thing by 6 this weekend. You're like, oh, well, okay. Well, because he's won it before.
Yes.
So
he likes that course.
Yeah, but there are horses, as you like to say, for courses.
Without question.
And my one guy is Minwoo Lee. I've got my eye.
Do you?
Top 20, top 10, top 5.
It's fair.
Minwoo Lee.
Yeah, no, that's a good top 20. I'll probably do that as well. If you're going to do that, he's the same rated player as Daniel Berger. They're both rated the same on this course. So if you want to, by the way, rated on this course, if you're just trying to do top 20, sprinkle some pizza money on Ben Griffin, who I've been riding for 3 weeks. Ben Griffin is an extraordinary putter. And if you can putt, you're in contention. You just don't go crazy off the tee and you'll be fine. We get much more volatile picks like a JJ Spawn or a Corey Connors. But, and by the way, you know what bothers me? Why do you suck, Victor Hovland? Well, this is a guy who 2 years ago was that close to being like the best player in the world. He won the tour championship, was dominating, and changed coaches. Stop meddling everybody in your life. If something's working really well, if you have a system, leave it be. Right. If you're getting an exceptional performance out of something, leave it be. Don't mix it up. Why does everybody always have to mix stuff up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, now I know that when I come down to Clearwater, I don't have to mess with a thing. I just go to aboveandbeyondvr.com. Why do I have to mess with anything?
And then you type in promo code JCS and you get 15% off. That's that goodness, right?
Oh, my God.
Son, we put the trash here when we're done. It always goes here. That's right. It doesn't go in the middle of the living room. It goes right here. There's not a better way. This is the way. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Ordinarily, I have to tell you, it would have really, really bothered me what happened for Florida State basketball last night. I know we mentioned the opener that, another loss, right? You went on the road. You lost to Virginia, who's not any good. Boy, this has got to be eating at the ACC right now. They just watched the basically dissolvement of their conference play out. And now, if you look at the upcoming March Madness, if you look at the NCAA tournament, Tom, I was looking this morning, you're talking about like 12 to 14 SEC teams getting in, some ridiculously huge number of the Big Ten getting in as well.
Yeah.
20. Yeah. So it's 20. I think the last I saw of projections, it's 23 teams between those two leagues that are getting into the tournament right now, with a chance for it to be like 24, 25.
Yeah. This what I find to be funny about this is that next week the ACC commissioner has to be on the desk often during the basketball tournament to make a case for his league. A lot of times he'll do appearances between games. They have that 20, 30 minutes between tournament games, and he'll often make a concerted lobbying, rallying cry about how the ACC is undervalued. And he's been far more aggressive on that front for basketball than he has been for football because, of course. But when you watch that, and I might just make my way over to ACC basketball tournament coverage outside of Florida State's magical week next week, just for that moment, to see the expression, to feel the energy around him, around the edges of his being. Yeah. What does the aura look like from Jim Phillips? Because my guess is there will be at least a small part of relief because he's done with all this other nonsense, but then also a large part of stress, beleaguered, we're behind on units sold this month energy, where he's just going, yes, Jay, I really wish that we would have some stronger consideration from the selection committee, because look at what we've done. Look at what we've done in this conference.
The problem they have, Tom, and this is where like a bit of humanity is starting to seep in with me. I'm like, I don't know. It's dead. Don't keep hitting it. It's over. Like he's got to be furious at Wake Forest. I mean, they were a bubble team a week ago. They just keep losing. SMU is out right now. You've got three teams that Louisville is a great surprise this year. That could be the coach of the year, by the way. Duke is legitimately good. Cooper Flagg turned out to be everything the world thought he was going to be, and he's only going to be there 1 year, which hurts, by the way. The league. It'd be nice to see his career blossom. He's just about to turn 18, and he's that good. I mean, he's a pro.
There is some talk that he might do the Manning thing and try to avoid going to a certain team.
Really?
And if he can't get his wish about avoiding a certain NBA franchise, he might come back for another year. That would be a boon for them.
Well, they'd have to pay him millions.
Yeah.
Millions upon millions, because that's stupid.
I'll kick in a few.
Yeah,
we could use the exposure.
So the Louisville's a great story, and then obviously Clemson and what Brownell's done is really remarkable. Clemson's good. But they don't have another good story. There's nothing there. North Carolina, I mean, this has been –
right. SMU's in there for $0. Clemson's going to be gone soon. Duke is Duke, but Duke could be Duke in a different league if they needed to be.
It's just it's brutal. He doesn't have an argument to bolster up those other teams right now, and they just basically admitted that the league is about to be very, very different at the very least. I mean, I will say I think the best thing they could do and the only win he could have long term is to say we had to do this. Okay, we had to do this settlement. You can get as mad at me as you want to. At the end of the day, you know, I was able to preserve the league a little longer than most of you thought possible. And it allowed us to get our ducks in a row to join partnership with the Big 12. And now we're part of a super league in the Big 12 where you merge the remaining members of the ACC and the remaining the Big. It's actually the smartest thing they can do.
Sure. Super league in quantity only, and then you might have a prayer 20 years from now. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and you do have if I were going to take the ACC side, I'm telling you what they should do now is build around SMU. Mm-hmm. It's the best hope they have. It's unlimited funds. They're committed to winning championships in all sports. The billionaires have awoken from their slumber. Yeah. They're in a great market. Staples said it with me yesterday, or did we do that Monday or yesterday? I can't remember.
Yesterday.
Yeah. That listen, Louisville's going to be good in football because they too have money and care. They're going to pay.
Yep.
So you got to start identifying those ones and then marry them with the Big 12 teams. And there are some good Big 12 teams still. So that's what you're going to have to do.
Well, yeah,
long term.
You're looking for the 2030s and the 2040s. You're looking to win and late 2030s at that, because we're ever closer to that decade. But yeah, you circle around UCF, right? Because you need that Florida presence, that Orlando market.
I would try to get
SMU,
the Tampa USF market. I'd bring them in.
Louisville, if you can get them, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Tampa's, that would be a great market to have. If all of a sudden you had Dallas and you had Tampa and you had Orlando and like you said, Louisville and it's not going to be the Big Ten.
You got Utah and Colorado unless they piece back and go back to the
Pac-12.
whatever the new Pac-12. Yeah.
It's. I just that's the best he can hope for at that point, because on-set appearances, what's in the back of his mind while he's talking whatever talking points they've given him to push regarding the ACC's greatness, even though it's in the wake of overwhelming evidence that it's not great and that it's dissolving, is this reminder repeatedly that he just had to tell Boston College, Syracuse, Wake Forest, Duke, I could keep going. You guys have to sign up to receive far less money than you're currently making, and you need to give it to FSU and Clemson while they finance their departure.
Yeah. Right.
Okay?
That's right. That's right.
You guys are going to give Florida State the money they need to compete at the highest levels that you can't compete at. They'll save some of that money and use it to get back to us when they want to leave. And you're basically, in essence, paying their exit fee with the addition of the monies that you're giving them.
Yep.
And that's the best we can do. I mean, stand there straight-faced to be like, well, this is a wonderful.
Well, yeah. But then when you wear it from Duke and Wake and Syracuse and Boston College, Jim at some point could say, well, hang on now.
Yeah.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
This would be a power move, and I know where you're going. I can't wait to hear it. But I got to tell you, it's not in him. But yes.
I hate them. Understand this. I hate them with all my heart. They have no integrity. They have no.
Right.
These are very, very uncouth people.
Unscrupulous.
Unscrupulous. There's no courtesy. There's no etiquette.
Right. Yeah.
But you have been living off of them. They do have a point.
Yeah. Forever.
How many millions have you made because of their greatness? They do have a point. So you're going to shut up and you're going to sign this deal, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to hold your hand. I will hold your hand because I hate them too, but we're going to be rid of them soon.
The picture that I have in my head is that of, I keep thinking of a Run the Jewels line where he's talking about who's the man behind the man behind the man behind the man. And he's talking about like people falling for the face of whatever an issue is, but there's somebody pushing that much bigger. It's just like cops chasing drug dealers. Like, oh, you're the guy on the street delivering the cocaine.
Right.
But there's a distributor, and there may be a distributor to the distributor that we ultimately want to get to, right? Who's the man behind the man behind the man? Well, I feel like that is ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Jim was brought into a room and felt a little uncomfortable. that it was kind of like, what, why am I here? You know, like this very looking over his shoulder type thing. There's guys in suits just standing there looking at him like, this is not going to be a good meeting for you, Jim. Yeah. You know, like just that. And the moment that he's being told, you're going to have to settle this situation.
He sits down in the chair, keep your mouth shut. He's going to be in 5 minutes. Who? Him. He'll be here.
He'll be here. Yeah.
He's here.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And then the door opens. He's Jimmy Pitaro. I've called you so many. Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Yeah. And it's on. It's the moment.
What is it, buddy?
Yeah. Scared to death. And he's got, I mean.
Jim, I'm not your buddy. I've never been your buddy. Stop calling me buddy. It's kind of creepy.
You've effed this up, and now I got to deal with it. You think I got the time to deal with this nonsense? So here's what you're going to do.
I got Rob Manfred on line 2. Okay. $550 million.
Yeah.
The thing is, we need it. I got ESPN Bet on line 3. That's a real problem.
Yeah.
Jim, do you think I care about you? Do you think I care about Wake Forest?
The ACC? Why is this part of my day?
Their best hope in the last 15 years just quit because they're not good enough. You think I care about Wake Forest?
Yeah, it's that conversation. It's a mob movie. It is. You're like, you're going to get this settled because I'm tired of dealing with it. So whatever you got to do. I've already told Clemson and FSU that you'll be in contact. They're amenable to picking up the phone. Now make that call.
We're done here.
Yeah. And then it's just, he's like,
but
Jimmy, I gotta, yeah, of course. How am I supposed to tell my guys?
If you call me buddy one more time, Jim, on the record or off, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's just gotta be a feeling of, I mean,
make me happy, Jim.
The league, you know, collectively, you could say they're feckless. And you're just kind of like, well, this is.
You know what happened once everybody left the room? Because nobody stays to help Jim leave or escort him out the building.
Yeah. He's left to ponder.
He goes, oh, dear.
It's the stare off into the distance. Yeah. And he's thinking, who do I call first? And how am I going to break this to him? Because I just, and honestly, there's nothing I don't think he could have done.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think he's handcuffed here. So this is not me just taking. There were times to make fun of Jim, and I have, but I don't think this is one of those. I think this was my hands are tied. You know, this is he was done.
When you're on the other side of it, absolutely, and he can take pride when it's all done and saying, "Look, man, I took a mess and
I kept this afloat."
Yeah, you know, this was going to be a dead being, and I kept it alive for another few years, another 5 years, another 6 years.
Because it gets so convoluted when you start thinking about what people wouldn't want to have come out. The longer this went on, like that whole Raycom thing, man. I mean, there's a lot of weight to all this, you know. There's a lot of stuff there.
You can simplify it and say that Florida State came for it with receipts.
Oh,
and
buddy.
We're going for Nepo babies. And yet the ACC didn't respond by saying, all right, the gloves are off. We're going to go all the way to the distance. No, the ACC said, how about 60%? What do you say?
That was, by the way, the day that the gloves came off.
Oh, yeah.
When it got out that we were attacking the sacred John Swofford and the deal that was previously made that aided his son and others, I was like, oh, well, they've decided that's it. There's no coming back from that.
I got to give Florida State credit because there's a lot of people in that administration that have been around a long time. I never heard that. I don't know if you did. But I never heard that specific complaint about young Swofford and Raycom in all these years. So that means that in those board meetings that they're not putting on the FOIAs, when they're kicking back and they're having a cocktail, maybe they're at the airport lounge for an unofficial setting. They're going, that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
One day we're going to get him.
Well,
and they decided that this was the moment.
I don't know if you've ever been in a moment like this. I think we've all had moments where you've had to very hard conversations, maybe even with people that you love, flawed people. We're all flawed people. But there's a difference between a conversation in which both parties know what's being talked about, and they also understand what's being said that reaches beyond the surface of the issue, right? Like,
going there, did you just go there? The kind of a thing.
Right. Like, now you're going to make me do this. That moment where you have to, because everybody who, if you're dear friends or a family member with somebody, you all know, everybody knows where the bodies are buried for each other. Like the biggest mistakes you've ever made in your life, all the things. And then there's an agreed upon, it's almost like a agreed upon social contract, right? But this is true of dear friends and family members. Like, look, I understand in 72 you did some things that were unfortunate, but we're not going to, you know what I mean? Like it's,
but you don't even say that.
Right. No, but it shouldn't have to come up.
You don't speak it.
Right. You don't have to, because the person you're talking to when you're having the issue of the moment understands that it's deeper than this. But you have respect for that person, let's say, and they have respect for you. So let's have a real conversation, all the while both of us know there's more to this. If you make me dig there and go there, well, it's all bets are off. And now I got to wash my hands of you. Now this is it. The gloves are off. And Florida State did it. They went, oh, okay. So you're not going to hear us. You're not going to listen to us at all. You're not going to even accept that this is a serious matter at hand that we've presented to you. This is our concern, dude. You're not going to hear any of that? Well, allow me to retort. And boom, here it comes. It's all on the table. So let's talk about John Swofford.
You're king.
Now, the moment that they do that, you're like, oh, the air is sucked out of the room if it's a movie. You're like, let's talk about John Swofford. Why? Why would we do that? Well, I think we know why we're about to do that. and then here we go. It's fascinating. It is. Now, it's funny we got into this conversation at all, because all I was going to say is that lucky ass Brody 3 last night would have pissed me off in previous seasons. I wasn't even mad at the illegal screen. The 3, it's tied at 57. It's a terribly poor possession for Virginia. Florida State's defense is on lockdown. Guys falling out of bounds and slings it across the baseline. It's a terrible pass. Brody's credit isn't making the shot. It's barely holding on to the ball that's so poorly thrown to him. At the end of the shot clock, falling out of bounds, he throws it up, and of course it goes in. In a year in which Florida State mattered, in a year in which we were invested, in a year
God
in which
forbid we were on the bubble,
right? In a year in which we would have been on the bubble, needed a road win, all of that, and that thing goes down, I would have been incensed. As it is, just being a Nole, there was a tinge of, damn it, man, are you serious, that crept up in me. But again, it didn't matter. We're not going anywhere. But as soon as that thing went in, I went, okay, all right. That just happened. I mean, and the worst part is when a kid makes a shot like that. Listen, we've all played athletics. If something good happens and you're pseudo responsible for that good thing happening, then you get excited. I don't fault him for being excited. Don't act like you. Come on now. That's a full court. That's like the equal to a full court heave that goes in. You kind of like
shove.
You're like,
that's the shrug.
Yeah, that's I mean. Hey,
what are you gonna do about it?
It went in. I gave it a ride and it went in. It's it's a 50-foot putt. And you're like, and everybody, no, there's skill involved. There is skill involved. You have to get pace to the hole. You have to have the right read, all of those things. Justin Leonard, come on, that thing's going 14. That thing's going 14 feet past the hole if it doesn't go in.
There is a difference.
Right, you know what I mean? Yeah.
There's better than most, and then there's Justin Leonard's putt. There's two very different things.
It's like bounces in the air. It was going so fast. If that doesn't go in, it's off the green. So
there is a rule about that. I don't want to derail your point.
But everybody just kind of.
If you're going to make a long putt, you better call it with about 10 feet to go. You better, That signals that I meant to do exactly what is happening right now, but you better call it.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things where when that happens, you can celebrate. Careful how you celebrate. Like, we all understand what just
What if
happened
he yelled good when he let it go?
No,
what if he was mic'd up?
It went around the. It was ridiculous.
Good.
Drawers. If he did, God love him. That's amazing because it was ridiculous. And we just got into a piling on segment of poor Jim. I was trying to talk about this kid's lucky 3, but it's the week we're in.
It happens.
Hour number 2 forthcoming as we broadcast some lovely, a little overcast today, Clearwater. But hey, it's all right. You've been beautiful these last few days. We'll be back here for next hour.
It's sad we're leaving.
It is very sad. It is sad we're leaving. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
All right, gang, a new sponsor on board here for Warchant, all of the entities that we have here on Warchant TV, and that is Ridge Wallet. If you've seen these on maybe a bar top or a countertop near you, here's why you need to join and go grab yourself a Ridge Wallet. We're going to save you money while you do it. Ridge Wallet holds up to 12 cards, hotel keys, whatever you need, plus cash. It is super light. It is not like my old wallet. I had one of those giant tri-fold leather wallets that ended up starting to tear away at the back pocket in my pants. If I forgot, for example, to take my wallet out when I was playing golf at Capital City, you'd start to get that little tear at the seams because the thing is so damn heavy and bulky. Also, when you're traveling and you're going through security at the airport, it's just another bulky thing that kind of drives you nuts. And until you get something better, you don't realize how much it was inconveniencing you. So that's why when Ridge Wallet said, hey, would you be interested in having a promotion run through Warchant, through the Jeff Cameron Show, through Wake Up Warchant, we said absolutely. And here it is. I got mine. It's bright green. That way I don't miss it. If I set it down on the table, I don't forget it. But it holds up to 12 cards, as I said, and it's super, super light. This is the way right here with Ridge Wallet. You can get up to 40% off at ridge.com/wakeup. That's right. Right now, it's a once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/wakeup. Just head to ridge.com/wakeup, and you can be saving today. All Ridge wallets come with a lifetime warranty. So this is literally the last wallet that you'll ever have to buy. And make sure to give us credit after you purchase and save up to 40%. Let them know at ridge.com that we were the reason you came to buy.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. As we are broadcasting one more day here in Clearwater. It's been a good run, great time. Thanks to our friends Above and Beyond who have sponsored the week so far and been here for us. And these vacation rental properties that we've told you about, 30 plus, are simply beautiful. And really, I think you got something for everybody. You know, you got the little bungalows and cottages. You've also got the luxurious items, such as these condos that we're in, and it makes for a little nice holiday run for you and your family. I would book now. I've been kind of beating you over the head with this week, but it's mainly because not just that they're a new client, we're welcoming them in, and they've been kind enough to put us up, but also because, frankly, this is the JCS code that gets you 15% off this week, and it's a lot of money to save. So you may want to take advantage of that. That's all I'm saying. 15% off this week. They're booked solid for March, but they're wide open from there. So it's incredible, and I think this is going to be fun to explore. Speaking of which, I used this opportunity yesterday. Went down, watched the Pirates play in Bradenton there. You ever notice, and I think I forget this until I'm just a fan in the stands, you know, and we're privileged. We have press passes to almost everything we go to. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you forget about the fan experience sometimes because it's not usually the way we take in games. Unless you're talking about taking in a game at home, watching a game on television. But like when you go, a lot of times if we go to a football game or we go to a baseball game or whatever, we do have the ability to get a press pass. And I'm reminded, unfortunately, Tom, that a lot of fans, not the listeners of the Jeff Cameron Show, that's for sure, but a lot of fans are stupid.
Oh, God.
And it hits you right over the head when you're in and amongst them, that they don't value the right things. And I'm not talking about personally. I'm talking about sports. Understanding what you're watching, for example, having a good understanding of like what it represents. So there was a guy in front of me yesterday, a Boston fan, who really felt strongly that the Red Sox needed to win the game against the Pirates in spring training. I mean, you could see from first pitch, The first pitch of a spring training game, he bemoaned a call.
Really?
And I went, okay, this is what we're doing here. Yeah, first pitch. Red Sox were on the road. First batter of the game. It's an outside fastball. Yeah, borderline pitch on the corner. It's pretty close. It's called a strike. He's like, oh, okay. And he leaned. I'm like, I can't imagine watching a spring training game with that kind of investment. That kind of, because it tells me you don't understand anything. A, that the pitchers are likely working on something. It's a spring training game. They'd like to win. It'd be great. They don't want to get crushed. But, I mean, if you think about it, we've heard the stories from many major leaguers over the years telling funny stories about how they're working on a new pitch. And they give up, like, John Smoltz gave up, I think, 3 consecutive home runs in a spring training start. And Leo Mazzoni went out there to talk to him, and he was like, get back in the dugout. What are you doing? And Mazzoni's like, well, I mean, 3 balls straight away center. And he's like, who cares? And that's when I realized, like, right, he's working on something.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times what's happening. But also, you don't get anything for winning a spring training game. Like, Boston doesn't get an extra home game if they win the game. Like, what are you doing?
Truthfully, the only people that should really take this seriously in the stands during spring training are the family members of bubble players. Guys 100%. That are just on the border, making the 40-man, or it could be something about years of service, coming back from injury, all those little stories that are the
wonderful.
Ones. Those are the ones that are meant for spring training. Are those things. And those people are on pins and needles. Everybody else, the guys that you're going to count on opening day, yeah, they're doing what they need to do to be ready for the big show.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, let a manager be concerned about whether or not your starting third baseman have had enough good at-bats or enough at-bats in spring training to be ready for the season. Like, if you're Joe Blow going to a spring training game, you probably haven't seen every split squad game. You probably haven't seen every spring training game. So the chances you have a real grasp of whatever that guy is attempting to do with this AB.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
You can't do that. I can't imagine watching sports that way.
No, and I can say that the streak is alive. I told you this yesterday. The streak is alive. It's been I now pinned it down 18 years since I've been to a spring training game.
It's just heartbreaking.
It is.
You really should go. They're fantastic.
I know. I should. Well, I can thank the lawyers for that. They had to pick today or yesterday and Monday to have this happen. But when I was last at a spring training game, Jose Lima was pitching for the Mets.
It has been a long time.
Yeah, rest in peace, Jose Lima.
Cue the meme of the Titanic woman.
It's been 84 years.
It's been 84 years.
But this is okay. I'm trying to encapsulate what spring training's about. So me and my buddy Brian yell at the top of our lungs because the game hasn't started yet. Lima time! Because he's walking to the dugout and he turns around and he poses.
Oh, which is fantastic.
And then he starts to do a dance. And it was really,
fantastic.
It was awesome. But what was kind of awkward was the dance went for about 15, 20 seconds because we're cheering like, yeah. And then he keeps going like, all right.
Go pitch.
Get in the dugout. Yeah. But that's what, I mean, it's about those little casual moments where, you can ask for an extra autograph if you're a little kid, or spring training is about grabbing a beer and just sitting back and enjoying a breeze.
Feeling the warmth of the sun if you're from Boston, and if you're from Philadelphia or Baltimore. I mean, here you go.
I would also argue the sound of the bat hitting the baseball in spring training is better than it is in a regular season or a postseason game because the stadiums are smaller. It's just the way it echoes is different. There's more of a simplicity to it.
It's beautiful, and you should be enjoying the experience. And I know this is me chiding fans, and that there's no good way to do that.
It's a Red Sox fan. I'm not surprised.
But it was really bizarre. I mean, at one point, and Boston crushed Pittsburgh for what it's worth yesterday.
Well, then he had a good day.
Well, it was strange to me because you had guys who aren't going to make the team that were pitching. You had guys that weren't going to make the Red Sox team that were hitting. So none of this was going to matter. You had guys out there, number 98. It's like that guy ain't making the team, man. He's not.
If he's not a reliever, he's not making.
He's not making the team. So guy that none of them have. I literally heard the guy in front of me when it was a 6-run game in like the third inning turned to his buddy, another Red Sox fan, and who is that? He's like, I don't know. Look here, Johnson.
Well,
and then he's like, I don't know.
You should have said, how do you not know?
Yeah, how do you not know?
Yeah. This is an important day.
Well, that guy hit a double in the gap, and he's like, yeah, I like this guy.
Oh, God.
Oh. So it doesn't, hey, the Pirates fans don't get off easy here. I go down to buy a shirt, and I'm in the little shop there, and there's a guy wearing a Yankees hat, which, I don't know, whatever. He's wearing a Yankees hat at the Pirates Red Sox game.
There's the smallest of leeway for spring training. I think you get a little bit more room.
Just a little bit. But he's standing there, and he's randomly talking to this Pirate fan about PNC Park and how much he loves it. Great. And they're in my way. I'm trying to get to the shirt.
This is why it's important.
No, it's just like they're not.
Would you get a 3/4?
No, I got this. I got another shirt. That's
a Pirate shirt.
Yeah. So the you know the pierogies and all that. This is
the pierogies.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be educated on that later this summer.
Sauerkraut Saul. Isn't that great? Look at him.
What else is in a pierogi?
There's all kinds of things.
Is there like cheese and crap?
Meats and stuff? You don't have to get any. No, they're sauce. It's awesome.
I'm going to try a pierogi this summer.
A little overrated.
Okay.
They're not.
You still got to do it though.
Yeah, you do. You got to do it. Anyhow, so this guy runs around the field.
Nice.
It's a great shirt. But I got this, and then a more traditional Pirate shirt. Whatever. The guy is standing there, and the Yankees fan is having a conversation with the Pirates fan about PNC Park. And
it's important that the Yankees fan lets the Pirates fan know that he personally approves
right
of their park.
Well, that's the way I took it. I'm kind of like, great, pal. Anyhow, so he's going on and on, and they're talking, and the guy's wife is trying to send a signal to him that she'd like this conversation to end with this stranger so that they could go watch the game. And so she's kind of giving him every cue in the world to wrap it up. And then the guy says, well, good luck to your Pirates. They should, they may win 81 games, and who knows? That could be good enough to get them in the playoffs. The Yankee fan said that. And the Pirates on Fangraphs, depending on where you want to look, projected 78.5 wins. So he's not wrong. It's just in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, at least he knows enough to know that. Well, as the lady's turning to him, she goes, well, we'll see. I mean, we did lose 7-5 yesterday.
That was the Pirates fan?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Just, damn it, man. I just couldn't believe it. And it was a woman, but still, I was just like, man, come on.
Hey.
She's not a pirate. She doesn't know, Tom. And it was just so, You
know what you need to do? I think you need to get some awesome, you already have quite a few sets of these, but some awesome over-the-ear headsets and just walk the earth listening to music and sparing yourself these moments.
Well, this is specifically a shot at just sports fans or, in this case, I guess baseball fans not understanding anything about baseball. And that is, it burdens me. It bothers me.
There's a lot there, though. I approve of your ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got a good little thing down there.
Yeah,
maybe you can win 81 games. Who knows? Who knows?
Right. So I was already kind of like, okay, pal, you're not going to sit here and condescend me. We're not doing it. It's ridiculous. And then that guy engaging him, I'm like, sure.
Well, you know what? The good news is they allowed you some more time that you could get away from the two Red Sox fans.
They did. I ended up moving seats because there were plenty of seats that were kind of open, and I was like, I can't do it. My buddy Steven was with me, and he's a Pirates fan. Ran into a JCS fan as I was there. That was cool. Came walking up to me after the game was over and said, how are you going to say good afternoon to us if you're here?
Oh, yeah.
Which was
Did
nice.
he say, I'm sorry about the loss today?
No. I think he got it.
He understood.
He was probably a Nole. He gets a lot of things right. But, yeah. So then we moved on. We walked on, and I was like, this isn't, it's not, but we did do the thing also. One thing about spring training, and I'll move on. One thing about spring training that it's great, and it's also a bit of a detriment to the experience. People get loose at spring training games. I mean, they pick that. That's like a party. That is we've come down from the freezing cold, and we're going to make the most of our week here, week and a half here.
Come on. When we got here on Sunday and we were driving from Dunedin over here, those Phillies fans were not sober that we were. I mean,
no.
and they were behaving.
They were behaving.
But the way
they were behaving.
The way they were walking back to their respective condos, oh, my God.
They've had a day. They've had a day. Yeah, I had a woman come walk up to me, Boston fan, with her husband. Don't know who this is. We're in the I said, let's go stand on the boardwalk on the outside looking back towards home plate and taking an inning from that perspective. Not unlike walking around Citi Field or whatever and seeing it from different places. And
that right center area. Yeah. Wasn't that right? That's a beautiful spot.
Cool area. Yeah. So we were sitting there and she just turns to me and she's like, hey, can you take a picture of me and him? Like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I can. She's like, okay. And then she gives me the camera and she's like just draping herself all over him. And then she's obliterated. It's the fourth inning. I'm like, where is this going? And they both have a tall boy, one of many, I'm sure. And she hands me the camera. I take the photo or the phone and take the photo. And I go to give it back to her. And she's like, he doesn't like it when I hug him so hard. And I was like, enjoy the game.
But that's what spring training's about.
Sure.
Right there.
Sure.
That's it right there.
Oh, I was just a reminder.
You're talking about fan behaviors that'll grate you. And I agree. Uninformed takes.
Completely.
Uninformed takes.
Like the spring training loss from yesterday is portends of 110 losses this year.
I will tell you, this applies not only to going to any game of any kind, but also sitting on an airplane.
Okay. Conversations overheard. Yeah.
Nope. It is a quirk, a physical thing that people do, and it drives me batty. I'm confessing it to the world. It's when people who are in front of you stand up or lean up in their chair and keep turning around. Why are you turning around? You face forward.
Yeah, there's nothing.
You stop it.
Are they checking on the bathroom?
No. In the plane? No.
Because you could be.
No. People talking and they're like, no, because you're not turning towards the aisle. You're turning not towards the aisle, but towards the window. The hell are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know what that's about either.
And then also in the stands, you see that all the time. People stand up and then they turn around in the stands.
Well, they want to be seen. Now that's fan behavior that we can talk about because we know that the super fan, like that Jets guy.
Well, that's the one fan that says everybody get it. I hate that too. I'm just talking about standing up and turning around. Look at the field.
Yeah.
You pay to look forward. Don't look back at me.
It's just weird.
It's just weird.
It's just a little weird.
It's invasive.
I mean, it's all right if you want to take a glance at your surroundings. It's a good idea to get a handle on what
I'm talking about.
I do.
There is a difference in the body language of the person who constantly has to do this. Why are you turning the F around?
Because they want you to see them. They want you to acknowledge them. They want you to know they're there.
Especially if it's the row right in front of you. You know, that person's right by your knees, and then they turn. Like, well, I'm going to slap you. Turn around.
I'm used to people turning around to look at me because well, here's what I mean. Because I'm forgetting that not everybody uses the F-bomb as frequently as I do. and so what happens is that if I'm talking to a buddy and something weird happens and I'll go for F's sake or something like that, and then it's this guy who's, pseudo offended and I'm like, oh, here we go. Now, obviously, I pay attention. If there's a little kid, I don't do it. Usually.
Yeah, right.
Usually.
The one strike. You're like, sorry
about that. Didn't see you had a toddler.
Yep.
Yeah. But.
Or they're behind a beam in the corner pocket, support beam.
Well,
on the other side of it.
It's a bar and grill.
It is a bar and grill.
It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3.
For a bar and grill.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. You got your money's worth.
I was all in on that one.
That would have been grill and bar out the door.
Yeah, but that was a bar and grill. And it is a serious bar and grill. Who are we kidding?
Oh, and it was a national championship season. We knew it.
What are you going to do? There's a lot on the line. Don't screw this up. Let's tackle somebody. That's all I was trying to impart. Let's tackle somebody every now and again. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. So we haven't had a chance to talk about it. It's not huge news in and of itself, but you do realize, for example, that they've already started in some places. The football spring practices have begun. Miami already kicked off its spring session on Monday. Tomorrow, the University of Florida kicks off theirs. As if they matter, USF is about to start.
Oh. Well, we better look out for traffic on the way home.
But, yeah, it's happening. It is happening. So practices are beginning, and we know now when Florida State's will begin, and that is a good thing. First of all, we'll just kind of start in order here. Tomorrow, Director of Football Strength and Conditioning, Josh Storms. You also get Gunnar Hansen, the offensive lineman. Defensive lineman Jason Jenkins is tomorrow, I believe, as well. So a lot of whispers around Jason Jenkins. I'll be interested to see where that goes. I don't mean that in a bad way, but, listen.
You kind of do.
Well, yeah, but not. Here's the deal, everybody, if you don't know. And this is not, I couldn't possibly get in trouble for this. There are whispers everywhere in the FSU football community. People that follow the program, people that cover the program, people that are associated with the program, that Jenkins has suffered an injury and is going to miss spring at the very least. I'll just leave it at that. And so if you're going to make him available, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
So
it would be addressed before that first question to him.
100%.
Either don't ask about it or here's what's going on.
Oh, I think at this point, if it's true and he's had to have surgery or something, I mean, you'd have to just address it.
Yeah. Maybe walking into the room
with a boot or something, it'd be silly. So,
or a sling just to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. But the point is, it sucks. That was a good get. Felt like an important get.
Yeah.
I'd like to know to the extent that this young man is going to be missing time.
To what extent?
Yeah, to what extent, yep. Right? The next big date is on the 17th, so 12 days from right now. Mike Norvell, the annual pre-spring press conference, Varsity Club, we'll go over there. We'll have that. We'll get to sit down, have a lunch, and we get to also meet with the assistant coaches. They're available on that day. Mike talks at 11:30, and the assistant coaches, as you kind of – the way this works is you go up there to the fourth floor, you get your food. Oh, first of all, Mike addresses the press and will say, whatever he's going to say. And then from there, and you can ask him questions in that moment. Then he kind of lingers around. Everybody gets up and goes and gets food. You sit down at a table where the assistant coaches are spread out so you can begin to talk to them. That's all off the record stuff. That's just a casual conversation with these coaches. And then from there, you record interviews that are on the record, and they know it's on the record because there's usually a camera in their face or a phone that's recording or a microphone, whatever it might be, and you get your questions in that way, and everybody can write their stories, and I can have context for the show. That's how that goes. So that'll be on the 17th. The 19th is the official start of spring practice for Florida State, Wednesday, March the 19th. So 2 weeks from right now, you get the start of practice finally, and we are all excited about that. Looking forward to it in a lot of ways, just in terms of seeing the body types of the newcomers. And then obviously that'll be basic install. We won't be allowed to talk about a lot of that, at least in terms of what they're doing. We'll certainly be able to document, the players that are standing up.
What this means, though, is that we don't have access to tour of duty. So you just wonder, because Josh Storms would always speak after the availability to go see tour of duty workouts. That was when we would get him in spring. So in this case, it is a formal press conference instead of after we look at the workouts at 5 a.m. So I see that, or the lack of that availability. And then I look at Wednesday, March the 19th, 2 weeks from today, first day of spring practice. Don't see an exact time for the starting of that yet. Usually those are afternoon practices. Mike Norvell likes to have afternoon practices in the spring because he wants to get kids from high schools around the state a chance to come up to campus and see what Florida State's all about. Very, very smart the way they do that. Are we getting in? I wonder. It's at least on a yellow alert at this point.
Pro Day is March 21st. Circle back to March 19th and whether or not we're going to be back to practice. I think it would be a terrible mistake. And I don't say that selfishly, meaning that I want the access so that I can watch practice and talk about it. I do, but it's not why I bring the point up. I think it would look very small to go 2-10 and then turn around after 2-10 and ban the media from practices, implying in some part that it's the media's fault that they went 2-10. I mean, that's what you're doing if all of a sudden you suddenly don't have access to practice after you have had access to practice every year that he's been here prior to a 2-10 season. So, and here's the part of that would bother me too, is that there's already this sense that Mike is shook. And look, we gotta see you bounce back from this. But moreover, he was right. He was right when he got here and told everybody that he believed in open access to practice. He was right to say that he believed wholeheartedly in their methodologies and highlighting kids and their growth and highlighting a player's abilities and highlighting their personalities and letting people know what was happening on a weekly basis at Florida State practice in order to document the climb, in order to document the successes and the turnaround for this football program. He was right to do all of those things. It leads to better stories. It leads to better coverage of your program. It leads to, obviously, I think, an enthusiasm and excitement that builds towards the start of a football season. All of those things Bobby Bowden believed in wholeheartedly. It is in a great tradition, right, that you have that kind of access to a coach because you need that media coverage. You really do. And I think it just to me, it shows great confidence and belief in what you do, in your process, and everything that you teach and everything that you're building towards, to suddenly just banish that, to decide we're going to go in completely opposite direction and get in line with all these ridiculous programs that just decide to never allow for any sort of coverage of their team. To do it so soon after a 2-10 season?
I think 2-10 is when you need more access because people are starving for. I mean, like, yes, as a media member.
Yeah, what's going to be better?
I put myself in the situation I was last year. Let's say I'm not local. Let's say I'm up north. Man, I'd be starving for that info. I'd be calling you and saying, what the hell is going on? And if it was this year and I was still up there, I was like, hey, man, give me something. I need to know some good news because you need – the sooner we can talk about other material things that are happening, the way Gus Malzahn sounds as he coaches his quarterbacks, the way that Herb Hand sounds as he pulls the offensive line aside for individual drills, or that Tony White is instilling the physicality that he spoke about in his introductory press conference, and you're hearing about from the recruits that are coming on campus. What's the pitch? Well, they're going to be physical. He says, wait till you see how fast they play, how nasty they are. Okay, well, let's talk about actually how that looks and sounds in practice. That gets people off of 2-10 that are going to be buying tickets, that are going to be buying Florida State gear, that are going to be traveling to road games. They want to hear about those things.
There's a misnomer that somehow the press is a distraction. Now, there's been an all-out assault on the press for some time. Not going to go down that road. But let me just say, you want a free press, everybody. But more than that, you certainly don't want state-run media and you only hear about FSU's great moments on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, like what you're going to get from, understandably, Seminoles.com. That's what you're going to get. They're not going to write anything negative. They're not going to say anything negative. They're not going to tell you anything about what's not working or what is working and everything in between. They won't. That's because they're Seminoles.com, and that's fine. That is the role of Seminoles.com. I'm not taking shots. That's what you do. You know, it's not like the Lightning are going to tell you that, man, that second line is really shaky out there today, guys. This has been a week straight. What are they going to – they're not going to do that. They're going to highlight Hedman's goals. They're going to highlight – that's what they're going to do. They're the team website. The Times, on the other hand, might be like, well, here's the good, here's the bad, and here's everything in between. You get an honest evaluation. But it is never a distraction to a freshman right guard to have Ira standing at Hauser watching practice. It's not. It's not a distraction in any way. It's not. You just turned me off.
No, I didn't. But yeah, sorry. Yes, there's a little function that just makes it sound that way. But yeah, you're good. Sorry.
The point is, there's no. The quarterback doesn't feel undue pressure because Jeff and Tom are leaning against the gate on the third floor at Hauser. It's not happening. We're very limited to what it is we can talk about. First of all, there are rules to that end.
Yeah, if you say back shoulder, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
if you say post, you're in trouble.
Yeah, so there are very strict stipulations as to what you can and cannot talk about when you are granted access. And there's no burden for these young men coming off the field on a daily basis to have to sit and talk to the press. It's designated. So usually it's a kid that'll do it on a Monday or a Tuesday, and he won't be asked again to do it the rest of the week. Maybe 2 weeks from now you'll get him again. So it's not like you're interviewing the same guy every day and he feels the weight of those questions and the heat of the press that's there. It's just not. It's just hogwash. When the team is going poorly, people want to find an excuse for why it's happening. And in the last few years, invariably, you've heard people say things like, well, I wouldn't grant access. It's a distraction. How? How's it a distraction? You know what's a distraction? Sucking. A distraction is losing every week. That's a hell of a distraction because the weight of the losses begin to mount. And guess what? Those get documented by the hated press. There's no denying that you lost on Saturday and the following Saturday and the following Saturday. You're going to feel the weight of that no matter what.
So it could be moot. We could be seeing practice 2 weeks from today. And
100%.
I think there's a decent shot that it's happening. That's why it's just a yellow alert because tour of duty would be this year especially very, very interesting. It's not just about the wave of transfers. It's the different voices in the room. I'm interested to hear how the sounds have changed and what the atmosphere of practice is like. Mike is still running the ship. I get that. And he's going to be him. But essentially you've done a complete overhaul of everything else. And there are some of the same position coaches, but I mean, everything about the organization is going to change here on a day-to-day basis for both sides of the football. I'm sure the special teams drills will be the same. Other than that, everything is probably different. I want to know how that sounds and the way they're communicating with players.
I just think he's right to let I know last year went south in a hurry, but my goodness gracious, we had really documented the climb in a way that was, I think, enriching to the program. You watched, we understood. I think there was real balance. We understood that, look, you couldn't have been expected to do much when you first got here, especially because of COVID. It was going to take a little bit of time. And then we saw the progress. We documented that progress. And it led to a real build of enthusiasm and excitement around the program. You felt connected to a lot of those players who helped get this thing turned around.
Yep.
And I think and that's because of the access, because you did get to talk to Jermaine, because you did get to talk to Keir Thomas, because you did get to have an understanding of how the program was changing due to the influence of these players in the locker room and on the field on a daily basis. You get to see the things, the points of emphasis from the coaches and what Mike was doing. Listen, again, you wish it hadn't been built to a place where you get to that level and then turn around and go 2-10 and come crashing down. But again, that's no fault of the press. It would be silly. It would be silly. You're right. This may be much ado about nothing. You're just heeding the warning that we don't get tour of duty this week.
That's new.
And that is new. And then you wonder, is that a precursor?
If I was Mike, I'd be tongue in cheek about it. Well, you guys were so positive and we were terrible anyway. I want you guys in here. Get in here. Absolutely. Pump that sunshine.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. If you could have just heard the conversation Tom and I were having on the porch about the setting, the relative ease that life could be if you could own such an establishment, such a place, and didn't have, a job and responsibilities and the like. Anyhow, that breeze that you hear in the microphone touched us in a certain way. It's been nice.
It's pleasant. It really is.
It's beautiful. Quickly, just to note a couple things here. First of all, spring. Listen, I'm caught up in spring training talk, but rather the franchise tag deadline has come and gone, and there are winners and losers to that. We thought there would be a lot more information, or more action, I suppose, to be honest with you. There was you kept waiting on Tuesday afternoon for more names that could receive the franchise tag, but did not. The Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold did not. Buccaneers receiver Chris Godwin did not. Dolphins safety Javon Holland did not. So they'll join a group of unrestricted free agents, which begins the legal tampering period at noon Eastern time in 5 days, and let it be a free-for-all, buddy.
Wow. I didn't even realize it was then. 5 days from now?
5 days from right now. And so, I guess you would say, if you want, Sam Darnold is going to be a fascinating case. How do you grade and compensate a player like Sam Darnold? I mean,
Yeah.
He was drafted highly, expected to make a ton of money, had a career flame out basically, got a second chance, played really well for a bulk of part of the season. So 7 years after he was drafted, he finally had a good year. His last 2 games were unmitigated disasters, which reminded you of the first 6 years of his career. You know, what the first 16 weeks did count, Tom. He was really, really good. I don't know what Kevin O'Connell did in Minnesota last year in the wake of J.J. McCarthy's injury is make Sam Darnold the question. Yep, he won a ton of games. It's not nothing to win a bunch of games in the National Football League. It's hard to do. They played in a division with Detroit, who went 14-2 before facing the Vikings. So, and they still won the division, and that's because, in large part, he got Sam Darnold to play plus-level quarterback.
He did, and he did on an offense that's loaded. You know, that's the thing. If I'm look at the market for Matthew Stafford, you know, he ends up sticking with the Rams. But teams that were tied to Matthew Stafford included Minnesota.
The Giants.
The Giants and the Raiders are 2 big-time teams. If you're a Giants fan, do you want Sam Darnold?
No.
Right. If you're a Raiders fan, do you want Sam Darnold?
Probably not. Would have liked Matthew Stafford.
Sure. Well, yes, obviously he's not available to you, but what it would take on the open market to sign that guy, do you want him? If you're Minnesota, do you want him back? And the word is that they do at a number.
Oh,
it's a Pete Alonso situation with the Mets. Oh, well, we'd love to have you back.
Sure, here's $7.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
But if you're Minnesota, do you need to get with McCarthy here and figure out what you have? Or are you looking at this and saying that, well, Sam Darnold can engineer us offensively to a place where we can win the NFC and go play for a Super Bowl? Like, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because signing Sam Darnold doesn't send a resounding message to your fan base or to your coaching staff or your offense that we are in it. It's that, well, we're going to run the risk of. But how much is it going to cost to run that risk?
They're going to go to J.J. McCarthy. They clearly want to go to J.J. McCarthy. They did not franchise Sam Darnold. They're letting him go on the open market. Like you said, the possibility for a long-term extension in Minnesota, I suppose, remains. But looking at some of those numbers that I've seen offered here, because you just mentioned it, I pulled it up. I mean, they're talking about this being nowhere near the upper echelon of what quarterbacks make at the top tier quarterbacks make, which is over 40 million, 50 million. So he's not going to see it anywhere close to that.
And he was guaranteed that before the final 2 games he played this season. It was guaranteed. And I remember speaking to one of our mutual friends. We know a lot of Vikings fans, one of our mutual friends about this very topic. And he said, I feel like we're trapped and we have to sign him. And I don't want to do it.
Well, they're not going to do it.
Right. And in a way, the silver lining of flaming out against Detroit in the Week 18 game on Sunday Night Football, and then not looking very good the next game where O'Connell didn't help him either in the playoffs. You get your wish. You don't get the short-term success, but you might have spared yourself long-term disdain for this guy that you would be locking into at $40 or $50 million a year for a 2 or 3 year deal.
Here's why I love all of this. Again, I tend to look at, I've talked about this when playing the role of fake GM from my couch. I love the National Football League as a grand soap opera and trying to figure out which pieces are going where and why and the principal players. But this is all born out of something that is a trend and very interesting. And that is Baker Mayfield exists.
Right.
Geno Smith exists.
To a degree, Jared Goff, you could throw in that.
100% Jared Goff exists. Guys who were considered failures, busts, non-franchise stars at the most important position, despite being drafted at a place that's what they exactly have to become for you, and then given opportunities many years later, after bitter disappointments, in some cases injury to boot, they get a second or a third or a fourth opportunity somewhere because everybody needs a backup. They go somewhere. They have a good camp. Somebody's got an injury. They get a chance. Next thing you know, they're the man. And then they not only excel, they play in a way that makes these franchises have to do what Minnesota just did, which is, I don't know, maybe he gets it now. I mean, good God, we won 15 effing games.
Yeah. I think the hard question to have to answer, and clearly Minnesota doesn't believe that resoundingly he's the guy, or else they would have franchise tagged him or signed him to a lucrative deal and not let him hit the open market. Because what you're saying is, go ahead, shop around. They wouldn't say go ahead and shop around if they believed he was the answer. They're leaning towards what I think I agree with, which is, well, we're kind of loaded on offense, and we've got a really smart offensive coordinator / head coach. I'm going to trust that this is probably an above average quarterback, nothing more, that he makes better with his mind and play calling. And more importantly, our receiving core and our offensive skill players make better because they're all awesome. So let's just go to war with a JJ McCarthy on a rookie deal. If we think he can be close to what Sam Darnold is, let's use that $20 or $30 million under the cap that we are now have and go get another player or two and go try and win this thing on a rookie deal, which is how a lot of these Super Bowls the last 10 years have been, if not won outright, populated by teams that had quarterbacks on very team-friendly deals.
It gets interesting because what the Vikings will do is they'll monitor how tepid is the market for Sam Darnold. And if he finds himself kind of in a quandary where he can't get the big deal that he wants or something even close to a big deal, then he comes back for 1 year to Minnesota and says, all right, look, man, can you sign me to a multi-year deal? It's really a 1 year deal with team options, and it's incentivized and it's all those things. And then maybe we can revisit this, because what if McCarthy sucks and you're a playoff team, as you just said,
right?
And you get 6 games in and you're like, man, we're 3-3, but by all rights, this should be a 5-1 team. You know who could get us to 5-1? The dude who did last year.
Right.
So let's do that.
I think that's where his camp is correct too, to take this thing to the open market, because teams are desperate.
Well, and
teams are desperate.
Well, the Steelers need a quarterback.
Right.
Okay. The Raiders need a quarterback.
Giants need a quarterback.
The Giants need a quarterback.
The Giants have some good skill position.
I brought this up last week. I think the Giants desperately wanted Stafford, and if they had got him, they were going to be the biggest turnaround in the league this upcoming year. They have a great front four. They've got a good young running back in Tracy who's really, really good. They've got Neighbors at wide receiver who's a stud. They got a plus tight end. They've got a good tackle who's coming back, offensive tackle who's coming back off of injury and will start again this year, who's a Pro Bowl caliber player. They could suddenly be good if they had a modicum of quarterback play.
Yeah, actually, I heard this. Rich Eisen, it was a little cut up he had on IG. Top things he heard at the combine, and how he said it got very hairy from the Rams' perspective. If you were a Rams fan that wanted Stafford back, it got very hairy last week because the Giants reached both numbers. They reached the comp number that the Rams wanted. Mm-hmm. They also reached the comp number that Stafford wanted.
Yeah, the contract that he wanted.
But in the end, the Rams said, never mind.
They ended up caving.
Yes.
Yeah. Stafford was right. Stafford signed a team-friendly deal when he first went over there and then played way up here, has won a Super Bowl, has been great when he's not hurt, has lit it up, had another great season. They're scared to death because he's 37. And the Rams thought to themselves, we've got good young skill players. We've somehow kept this afloat. We got a good coach. We don't have to like him, but he's a great coach. And he's done a good job of, they kind of mirror the Bucs in a weird way.
They do. It's just that they didn't have a quarterback change, but they very much do, where you think you're mortgaging the future.
Yeah, you take your Super Bowl.
Yes, your shelf life is X amount of years, but here you are, and you're still winning.
Yeah, because you drafted well.
Yeah,
and that's
especially you replaced Aaron Donald.
Yeah, well, that's where your GM puffs out his chest. Because if you look at Jason Light in Tampa, they lose Tom Brady. You're like, well, it's going to be some lean years here, guys. But we got the Super Bowl, unless it's not, because our offensive line has been replaced. Because you still somehow have an ageless Mike Evans, and you still have, look, you drafted a tight end that's moving in the right direction. You've got some. You got a running back in Bucky Irving who's a superstar.
You hit on a couple OCs.
Yeah. So all of a sudden you don't have to have that huge valley that a lot of teams after winning the Super Bowl go through because they've mortgaged their future. Look, Kansas City's trying to stave that off right now. And I find all of this infinitely fascinating. As far as the winners and losers of all of this, I guess you would say, a loser would be T. Higgins in this right now. A winner would be Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, I don't know how the Cowboys can pay him. This is going to be a very interesting deal long-term for the Cowboys, but we can monitor them. The New England Patriots, they thought they were going to be able to do, they have this boatload of cash that they would be able to go out and do something with. Who are they going to spend it on? A lot of these guys are going back to their teams. I don't know that they're a winner. Chris Godwin was listed in a report that I was reading in NFL Today Without Higgins, the already thin wide receiver class just got thinner. In fact, it isn't just a poor year for the free agency pool. I'm reading from the piece. The draft class is also unspectacular at wide receiver. This simply is not a good season for teams that need a receiver. As such, those precious few good options become exactly that, precious, without question. Godwin is the best receiver available. He just turned 29. He's a younger option than Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins.
Amari Cooper got old quick, didn't he?
Very quick. They're all over 30. He's productive. He's played in at least 14 games in 4 of the last 6 seasons, although that ignores the fact that he had a devastating injury at the end of the season this year.
That's all about medical. Those teams, you can't sign him sight unseen. You got to bring him in and have your team doctors evaluate him. There's no way.
It was an ugly dislocation.
Yeah, there's no way. You have to. I mean, and that goes for the Bucs as well. You have to be comfortable with the medical evaluation. There's no way you just throw the money at him because of past performance.
Well, the other reason you don't is Jalen McMillan.
Yeah. For the Bucs specific case, yes. But I'm just saying,
you're talking about other teams. But I'm saying, like, the Bucs drafted Jalen McMillan for fear that they would eventually lose Godwin, and now McMillan can actually really play, and had to accelerate that role because of the Godwin injury. And now he can play.
Yeah, but you lose so much in the details of the game with Godwin.
I agree with you,
traffic,
and I love him, but buddy,
yeah,
you have options.
Yeah, it's a salary cap league, so you got to make these choices at the margin.
Final hour forthcoming. Stay with. I thought it was 12 minutes that we needed to talk.
14.
I had 12:20 in my head. I'm like, Tom won't shut up. We're never going to get done with this hour.
That's what I was trying to bridge it for you. I got a funny story for you in the last minute, though. You're talking about fans and irked by terrible observations.
Just moronic fans, yeah. They're not all moronic.
So in Orlando, I'm wearing this very Buccaneers outstanding.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Half zip. And this Philly fan, I'm outside MGM Studios. Walking by us, this lady. Sorry about your Chiefs. Kept walking. Sorry about my Chiefs.
Did you just chuckle?
I didn't know. I heard her. I didn't know she was talking to me, but the guy I was with said, "Did you just hear that?" I said, "Yeah." What? She was talking to you. What? She thought this was a Chiefs jersey or a Chiefs pullover? What are you even talking about?
But the fact that you would even say something to somebody as you're walking past them.
Right.
That's so Philadelphia.
Sorry about your Chiefs.
That's so Philadelphia, by the way. Like, when we beat the Chiefs.
Chief Buccaneer?
There was one moment in time where I walked past a Chiefs fan. They know they lost 31-9. Right. There's no reason. They know.
And they're generally happy people right now.
They know. They know. All right, now it's final hour, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.